A $47 overdraft fee for a $7 coffee changed everything for one woman. It happened to Priya, on a random Tuesday morning, staring at her banking app in a grocery store parking lot, and it wasn't really the coffee that broke her. It was doing that same math, for the 100th time, and realizing nothing was actually changing. Here's what most people get wrong about paying off debt. They think it's about how much you earn. It's not. It's about 10 very specific things debt-free women refuse to ever buy again, and stick around for number 1, because it's the one nobody warns you about, the one that quietly undoes months of progress without you even noticing it's happening. Before we get into the content of this video, I want to note that all information in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions regarding your money. Now, let's get into the video. My name is Emma, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and why women in particular get left out of, or underserved by, traditional financial advice. If you've ever paid off a chunk of debt, felt that rush of relief, and then quietly watched some of it creep back 6 months later, this video is for you. So if that sounds familiar, hit subscribe, because by the end of this, you're going to walk away with a list you can actually use, not just feel motivated for 20 minutes and forget by Friday. Here's the number that got me started on this whole topic. The average American carried a credit card balance of about $6,715 by the end of last year, according to TransUnion. And the average interest rate on that balance, according to the Federal Reserve, was over 21%. Let that sit for a second. You're not just carrying a balance, you're paying rent on it, every single month, forever, until you decide otherwise. That's not a "you're bad with money" problem. That's a math problem. And once you actually understand the math, 10 very specific, very ordinary spending habits start to look completely different. Some of them might even start to feel a little dangerous. Let's get into it. I want you to meet Priya. Priya paid off $14,000 in credit card debt over 2 years, the rice and beans budget, the weekend side hustle, all of it. And about 6 months after her last payment, she told me something that's stuck with me ever since. She said, "I used to think debt-free was a finish line. It's actually just a list of things I stopped doing." That list is what we're covering today. 10 things debt-free women never spend money on again, and why each one matters a lot more than it looks like on the surface. Number 10. Minimum payments, treated as a strategy instead of an emergency. Here's the psychology behind this one. Paying the minimum feels responsible. You opened the bill, you paid something, you didn't ignore it, so it feels like you're handling it. But minimum payments are mathematically engineered by the card issuer to keep you paying the least amount possible for the longest amount of time, while that 21% plus interest quietly compounds underneath you, month after month, mostly invisible until you add it all up. Say you're carrying that average $6,715 balance and only paying the minimum. Depending on your card, you could be looking at over a decade to pay it off, and thousands more in interest than the original purchases ever cost. Debt-free women stop treating "I paid the minimum" as evidence they're on top of things. They treat it as a warning light, a signal that something in the monthly budget needs to change immediately, not eventually. For Priya, that meant literally writing "minimum equals alarm" on a sticky note on her laptop until the habit of checking her full balance, not just the payment due, became automatic. And it's not only credit cards. The same trap shows up on medical bills split into easy monthly payments and personal loans refinanced again and again just to lower that one number on the statement, while the total owed barely moves. Number 9. Store credit cards, for a one-time discount. You know this moment. You're at checkout, and the cashier offers you 20% off today if you open a store card right now. It feels like free money. Debt-free women say no, every single time, because store cards almost universally carry higher interest rates than a standard credit card, and if you carry any balance on it at all, that one-time 20% savings can quietly cost you hundreds more over the following year. It's not just clothing retailers either. Furniture stores, electronics stores, even some pharmacies push the exact same offer at checkout, because the math works in their favor, not yours. The discount is a hook. It was never a gift. Priya's version of this was a home goods store card she opened for a 15% discount on a $600 couch, and then carried a balance on for 11 months. A friend of hers made the same mistake with a jewelry store card before a wedding season, chasing 15% off a bridesmaid gift and ending up paying almost double the item's price in interest by the time it was paid off. Number 8. Subscriptions they forgot they even had. This one is sneaky specifically because it doesn't feel like debt. It feels like nothing, $5 here, $10 there, $15 somewhere else. A streaming service you signed up for one show and never canceled. A meal kit you tried for a month. An app you downloaded for a free trial that quietly started billing you. Individually, none of it looks like a problem. But here's the real number, and it surprised me too. According to Bankrate's 2025 credit card debt report, nearly 3/4 of credit card balances in this country come from essential, everyday costs, not big splurges, not vacations, not impulse buys. It's the slow accumulation of small, recurring charges nobody ever goes back and reevaluates. Debt-free women treat a subscription audit like brushing their teeth, a monthly habit, not a New Year's resolution they do once and forget. Priya found 4 subscriptions she'd forgotten about entirely, totaling $63 a month, over $750 a year, for things she wasn't even using. One of them was a photo storage plan for a phone she'd upgraded and replaced 2 years earlier, still quietly billing her every single month. Number 7. Buy now pay later, on things that don't last. Splitting a $200 pair of boots into 4 payments of $50 feels completely harmless. It doesn't even feel like borrowing. But debt-free women have learned to spot the pattern. Buy now pay later was specifically built for the exact kind of impulse purchase you'd otherwise talk yourself out of at checkout. It shows up everywhere now: clothing, skincare, even groceries at some retailers, because splitting a price into 4 smaller numbers makes your brain process it as cheaper than it actually is, even when the total is identical. The test debt-free women use is simple. If you wouldn't put it on a credit card and knowingly carry the balance, you don't split it into 4 payments either. It's the same debt. It just has better marketing. And it compounds fast if you're not careful. Stack 3 or 4 harmless $50 a month plans across different apps, and you've quietly recreated an entire second credit card payment without ever seeing a single bill that says so. Number 6. Financing a car past what the math actually supports. This is where the numbers get real. The average American household spends about $6,440 a month in total, based on recent expense data, and for a lot of the women I talk to, the car payment quietly becomes the second biggest line item in that budget, right behind rent or the mortgage. Add in insurance, gas, and maintenance, and a car that felt affordable at the dealership can eat 20% or more of your entire take-home pay before you've bought a single grocery. Debt-free women stop asking, what payment can I technically qualify for? They start asking, what does this payment do to every other part of my life for the next 5 years? That is a completely different question, and it leads to a completely different answer, usually a smaller car, a longer search, or a used option instead of the shiny new one, no matter what the finance manager says you deserve. Priya's rule after her payoff was simple but strict. No car payment higher than what she used to pay monthly toward her old credit card debt, because if her budget could absorb that number once, it could absorb it again, just going somewhere that actually built her future instead of chipping away at it. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the next few items on this list aren't really about math at all. They're about identity. Number 5. Spending to keep up with a life she didn't actually choose. Priya told me the hardest habit to break wasn't a big purchase at all, it was saying yes to expensive brunches, group trips, and gifts that matched the incomes of friends whose financial situation didn't look anything like hers. It was the destination bachelorette weekend she couldn't really afford but said yes to anyway, because saying no felt like admitting something out loud. Debt-free women stopped financing other people's expectations. That's not about being cheap, and it's not about isolating yourself from your friends. It's about refusing to let comparison quietly write your budget for you, one sure, I'm in at a time, and learning that a real friend would rather hear, I can't swing that right now, than watch you go back into debt to keep up. It also shows up in smaller, quieter ways: the coworker's fundraiser you feel obligated to donate to every single time, the gift exchange you keep upgrading because everyone else did last year, the subtle pressure to match a friend group's vacation budget instead of your own. Number 4. Retail therapy as the only emotional regulation tool in the toolbox. This is the one that gets misunderstood the most, so let me be clear: nobody is saying you can never buy yourself something because you had a hard day. The shift is noticing when shopping has quietly become your only coping mechanism, the single tool you reach for every time, regardless of the emotion underneath it. And this is more common than you'd think. The average consumer now spends an estimated $254 a month on unplanned, impulse purchases, which adds up to over $3,000 a year, often without ever registering as debt in the moment it happens. Debt-free women build other outlets first, on purpose, before the hard day happens: a walk, a call to a friend, a genuinely free way to reset, so that shopping isn't the only lever left to pull. Because a habit that soothes today can very easily become the exact reason next month's statement gives you a worse day. For Priya, the tell was specific. She noticed she almost never remembered what she'd bought a week later, which told her the purchase itself was never really the point. The feeling of relief in the checkout line was. Number 3. Payday loans and cash advances, full stop. If you've never needed one, this might sound extreme to even mention. If you have, you already know exactly what the trap feels like. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a typical payday loan carries an annual percentage rate of almost 400%. Compare that to a credit card, which typically ranges from around 12% to 30%. A $300 loan that felt like a lifeline on a Friday can turn into $520 or more owed within weeks. And the CFPB has found that a majority of borrowers end up rolling the loan over because they can't repay it on the original due date, which is exactly how the trap resets itself. Debt-free women treat payday loans and cash advances as fully off the table, no matter how tight a month gets, and instead build even the smallest possible emergency cushion. Priya started with just $500, specifically so that door never has to be an option in the first place. She said the scariest part wasn't the interest rate itself, it was how easy the application was: no real questions asked, cash in her account within the hour, exactly the kind of frictionless design that makes it dangerous. Number 2. Overdraft and bank fees, running on autopilot. This one is almost invisible, because banks design it that way. A $5 coffee triggers a fee that, according to Bankrate's 2025 checking account survey, averages about $26.77 per overdraft, and some banks still charge as much as $35, and can charge it multiple times in a single day if you make more than one small purchase while your balance is negative. That means one rough morning of small transactions can cost you over $100 in fees alone, on top of whatever you already owed. It feels like bad luck instead of what it actually is: a predictable, avoidable cost of not tracking your balance closely enough. Debt-free women check their accounts almost obsessively, not out of anxiety, but because every fee avoided is money that stays exactly where it already belonged. Some switch entirely to banks that have eliminated overdraft fees altogether, just to remove the temptation from the equation, and others set up a simple low balance alert on their banking app so a warning arrives before the fee ever can. And number 1, the one that genuinely surprised even me when Priya first said it out loud. Convenience, at any price, treated as the default instead of the exception. Debt-free women stop treating "I don't feel like cooking tonight" or "I don't feel like driving there myself" as an automatic, unquestioned reason to pay a premium every single time. Delivery fees, service fees, tip prompts that creep higher every year, rush shipping on things that could have waited 3 days, the $6 convenience fee just to check out faster, none of these are wrong occasionally. The shift is that they stop being the default setting. Because convenience spending almost never shows up as one big, alarming number. It shows up as 40 small, forgettable ones: a delivery order here, a rideshare there, a rush-shipped item you could have waited on, and by the time you add them all up at the end of the month, you're right back at that $6,715 average balance we started this video with. Priya's version of catching this was almost funny in hindsight. She added up a single month of food delivery fees and tips alone and found it was more than her old minimum credit card payment had been. That's the list. But before we wrap up, I want to be honest with you about something, because there's a version of this that goes too far in the other direction. Cutting every single one of these 10 habits overnight isn't realistic, and trying to will usually backfire within a few weeks. The women who actually stay debt-free for the long haul aren't white-knuckling their way through total deprivation. They rebuild their relationship with money one decision at a time, and, just as importantly, they give themselves permission to slip up occasionally without spiraling all the way back into old patterns. One convenience order or one BNPL purchase doesn't undo 2 years of progress. It's the pattern that matters, not a single instance of being human. Which brings me to something that genuinely changed how I think about this exact problem. A while back I read The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and what actually stuck with me wasn't the debt snowball method everyone already talks about. It was his framing of debt freedom as an identity you build, not a finish line you cross once and forget. It helped me understand that every item on this list isn't a rule you follow until you're done. It's who you're deciding to become, one small choice at a time. I've linked it below if you want to check it out. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Debt-free isn't a finish line, and it was never about earning your way to safety in the first place. It's a list, and every single item on it is a decision you get to make again tomorrow, and the day after that. You don't need to be perfect at all 10 of these starting today. You don't even need to be good at 9 of them yet. You just need to pick one, and stop. If this helped you see your own list a little more clearly, hit subscribe, because next time we're going deeper into exactly how to rebuild a budget that actually protects the progress you've already fought so hard for.